What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Nickel City Rush Hour Show, Sunday edition. Tonight, we're going to dig into the top defensive tackles, ends, and edge rushers. This is definitely a glaring need for the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion, and we're going to get into all of it right now. No intro, because this is extremely important. I'm not going to make anyone wait. However, before we get into the heart of it and give people a little bit of time to join us, because they'll be upset with us, like, Mike, why did you get right into it? You didn't even put the intro out there because the intro is supposed to give people time. They're supposed to get the notification. But guys, while we're waiting for some folks to join, first of all, if you're new to our show and you're joining us, please hit that like button, drop a nickel on that subscribe for us. And, we greatly appreciate it if you join us in the comment section in the live chat. And if you're watching on a rewatch, let us know what you thought of the show as well in the comments. But guys, as I'm waiting around to kill some time for the show here, I read this article about Tom Brady. And this just happened just yesterday. Now, let me read this and get your opinion on it. Appearing on Deep Cuts with Vic Blends, produced by Shadow Lion, the longtime New England Patriot quarterback was asked if he'd pick up the phone in the event a needy team called with an offer returned to the field. I'm not opposed to it, Brady responded with a smile. I don't know if they're going to let me if I become a owner of an NFL team, but I don't know if... Pause. I don't know. I'm always going to be in good shape. I'll always be able to throw the ball. So to come to me for just a little bit, like Michael Jordan coming back, I don't know if they'd let me, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. So Tom Brady saying, hey, if the situation was right, I might be willing to come back. I'm ready. I'm game ready. Let me, by the way, Dolphin Keith, I'm being rude, introducing you, our special guest tonight from the AFC East Summit Show. And of course, my co-host all the time, Jake Podger. But what do you think about that? I mean, Tom Brady, what situation do you think would be the perfect situation for him to come back? Maybe it's an injury that happens sometime during the year. Maybe he doesn't want to play the whole year. But there's always these quarterbacks that get hurt, and some team might be in a playoff run. Call Mr. Tom Brady. What you think, Dolphin Keith?
I suppose I could see it, but I think at this point Tom Brady's probably pretty content with retirement. I think answers like that, they get a lot of clicks, and I think they'll get people like us talking. But I just don't see it. I don't see him coming back. I suppose it's possible. But you would need the exact right situation. Like if the Dolphins, a warm weather team, because Tom Brady is older, so a warm weather team, Dolphins are say 10-3 in the latter portion of the season too. It goes down for the season. Maybe they give Tom Brady a call, and maybe Tom Brady listens to him. So a situation like that.
It's the least he could do. You guys lost draft picks over him, so he may as well go play for you, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, we lost draft picks over him. We lost, countless games to him as well.
Yep. Although you always would get him in Miami, so I don't know what it was. Something about it.
Something in the water in Miami. Tom Brady had a tough time winning down here, even when the Dolphins were terrible. But short answer is I don't see it, but I wouldn't rule it out because he's Tom Brady. And right. I think, even when he's 60 years old, he's going to say, I can go out there and do it again.
I mean, Keith, you said it. I mean, imagine your team, Tua, you're making a playoff push. This is the year. Your team's looking fantastic. They're going to go deep into the playoffs. Oh, yep. No. Tua gets hurt with about 4 weeks to go in the season.
Yep.
Tom, we got an opportunity for you. How crazy would it be for him to come back to another AFC East team and actually lead them into the playoffs? Jake, what's your thoughts, my friend?
I think he loves the idea of it. He just wants to put it out there because he wants to probably a little bit of clickbait, but also, he just wants to let people know he's still a competitor. And if the right situation arose, he might consider it, but would he actually do it? I don't think so. I mean, he's supposed to be broadcasting this year too. I haven't heard anything about that. I know he owns some stake in the Raiders too right now too. He's doing something with that. Yeah, I think last year he bought into him a little bit, or he was like I don't know if he's a part owner or like a minority owner or something like that. But
that's an issue then, isn't it? Because
it would
if
be
he's minority owner of the Raiders, then there's a conflict of interest.
Let me get the background on that. But yeah, no, I agree. It would have to be like a warm weather team. But there's been mullings of Phillip Rivers even coming back too, and that hasn't happened. I don't see it, man. There's no way.
Well, nobody wants Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, right.
We saw him in Indianapolis that last year. Nobody wants him. Nobody's ringing his phone.
True.
But Joe Flacco came off the streets last year and did pretty well for the Browns.
He did.
Stranger things have happened. But Jake, if he's a minority owner of the Raiders, there's a conflict of interest there. I'm pretty sure the only team who could come back for is for the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm trying to find what that is.
Well, while you're looking, I mean, again, it was just kind of a question to kind of wait for some folks since we didn't have the intro. And I thought it was interesting when I read that. I'm like, really? And it was a legitimate site. It was CBS. So
yeah, I read it too. I can, raise my eyebrows a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Weston, good to see you out there. He says I'm first in. Yeah, love that, Weston. Thank you. Appreciate you. He's not coming back, says Weston, in regard to Tom Brady.
So it's not official, by the way. It was back in May of 2023, him and his group, which includes a couple other people, they were expected to purchase around 10% of the Raiders, with Brady having about 7% of that. But it's not an official investment. It's just a potential investment that has been rumored. So my bad on that. I didn't get the full facts, but yeah, it could cause some issues if it actually does happen. You're absolutely right. And he wants to break George Blanda's record, right? George Blanda went out there, played a game at age 48. So Tom Brady probably wants to break that record, I would assume, right?
He has every other record.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting stuff. I mean, if there is a quarterback that's ready to come back and play, it would be Tom Brady.
Of course.
Whether that happens or whether there's a perfect situation, we'll just have to wait and see. Jessica, good to see you. I haven't seen you for a while. Hope all is well. And hope you're here to enjoy the discussion about the defensive side of things along the line. So we're going to get into that now. And like I said, top of the show, we're going to be talking about defensive tackles. We got our top 10. And then we're going to be talking about defensive ends and edges. We're kind of blended in there. We got a top 10 of those as well that we're going to be talking about. And I'll start with, I know this is a big deal for you, Keith, right? I mean, you lost a big player on your side of your defensive line. I feel this is a big need for the Buffalo Bills. I know everyone's talking wide receiver, but we're old. Other than Ed Oliver and the defensive tackle, we're old. And I actually added them up. Our average age is 30 years old, and that's with Ed Oliver in there. That's insane. Wow. You got Daquan Jones, who, we got him for 2 more years. The rest of the guys are 1-year deals. And, even Daquan, he was healthy up until last year. Before that, if you look back at his history, he'd been playing healthy throughout the prior seasons. Last year, he only played 7 games, came back from that pectoral tear. And, we didn't expect a lot. You didn't see a lot from him. But the fact that he came back was very impressive to me. But we get him back for 2 more years. So, again, we got to get younger here. But let me throw it to you, Keith, because you also have a big need, right? You guys lost somebody.
Oh, yeah. Well, we lost Christian Wilkins in free agency to the Raiders. And it was a rough loss. I mean, Jake and I were talking about this on the Discord earlier on in the week. It's just he was a fan favorite. He was a locker room leader. He was a guy that I hated to see walk out the door. But fact of the matter is, the Dolphins cap situation didn't lend itself to the Dolphins re-signing. So now the Dolphins have to shop in the bargain bin where they've been shopping all off season. They brought in Neville Gallimore, guys like that to come in and replace him. They gave Zach Sealer a big contract, but again, like we were saying in the Discord, Jake, Zach Sealer is more of a Robin than a Batman. The Dolphins need an alpha to lead their defensive tackles. And, so I've seen a lot of mocks where the Dolphins are drafting guys like Jerzon Newton and Byron Murphy. Should Byron Murphy fall to them? And at first I hated the idea because the Dolphins have a big need at the interior of the offensive line as well. I'm starting to warm up to the idea, mostly because I probably should warm up to the idea. And again, we're talking about edges here too. The Dolphins lost both of their edges last year to injury. Bradley Chubb tore his ACL, and Jalen Phillips tore his Achilles tendon on that horrible MetLife turf. So there's a big need along the defensive line for the Dolphins. So I've seen Jared Verse if he drops. I've seen him mock to the Dolphins. I've seen other guys, basically everybody except for Dallas Thomas mock to the Dolphins, because Dallas Thomas looks like a bona fide top 10 pick.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a show that's certainly relevant to the Bills, but I would even argue it's even more so relevant to the Dolphins, because they have a big need all along the defensive line here.
Certainly.
Yeah, agree. So let's get into it. We all came up with this list. You may have them in slightly different order. It's obviously not as deep as the wide receiver class. So if you're gonna get on at one of the top tier defensive tackles, you're gonna have to get one in the first round, most likely. Yeah. So let's start with the first guy. We've talked about this one a lot. Jake, I'll let you start with him. Byron Murphy.
Yeah, talk about generational talent. There's like 3 guys in this draft that I think are generational talents: Marvin Harrison Jr., Byron Murphy, and maybe one of the other receivers, Malik Neighbors or something like that. But he's definitely one of them. Byron Murphy is unbelievable, man. He's going to be Aaron Donald 2.0. He plays with such good pad level. Sure, you look at the size immediately and you're like 6 foot 297. That doesn't speak volumes to me at all. But when you watch him on tape, he's violent. He is impossible to block because he just gets underneath you. He's strong as hell. He's athletic. He actually played more zero tech than even Tavondre Sweat did this year at Texas, which is really surprising. So just to show the capability, he could play 0 to 5 basically on the defensive line. That is super impressive to me, and that's why he's such a salivating type of pick to make. So if he's available for either of our teams, I'm running to the podium as fast as I can, and I'm taking him immediately. Byron Murphy is going to be the next Aaron Donald.
Mm-hmm.
Heard it here first.
So he's going in the first round, obviously, and I don't know, Jake. We've had some mocks where he fell to us. I don't feel like he's going to fall past.
No.
Definitely not 20. So if you're going to make a move for him, you have to move up the board, I believe, which we could. Again, I'm so confused as to what Bean's going to do. He can move up, he can move back, he can stay put. It's going to be so interesting. But I've heard, we talked about on our last show, maybe them moving up in a big way to get a receiver, top 10 receiver. Not everyone likes that idea, but it's going to be very interesting. Keith, your thoughts on Mr. Byron Murphy?
Oh, I love Byron Murphy. And, the undersized thing, that's something that has been said about Byron Murphy. Look, the same thing was said about Aaron Donald when he came out of Pittsburgh. And he went to the Senior Bowl, and everybody came away from the Senior Bowl saying Aaron Donald dominated everybody that entire week. He was unblockable. And I see some of the same traits with Byron Murphy. So, I mean, if he falls to 21 to the Dolphins, they should, even if they have, JPJ there or Graham Barton, the Dolphins should probably turn in the card and pick Byron Murphy if he's there at 21. I don't see him being there. I don't see it. And if the Bills move up, I'm not trying to rain on your guys' parade, but if the Bills move up in this draft, they're moving up for a receiver. They're not moving up for Byron. So, I don't see either team coming away from this draft with Byron Murphy. The Dolphins aren't going to move up. They don't have the ammo to move up. If anything, they'd move back. If anything, the Bills should call the Dolphins up and see, what the Dolphins want for the 21st pick. But I love Byron Murphy. He's one of my favorite players in this draft. I just don't see it in the cards for the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm. Love what Roy said.
Roy says if Bean trades up in round 1 for a defensive tackle, he may have to hide out in Mexico. Bills Mafia will not be happy. Some of us might be, Roy. I'm just saying.
If it's Byron Murphy, but the problem is, I feel like this is a case where our number 1 need is wide receiver. So you're just sitting back and seeing what happens. So
yeah,
like Keith said, if you're trading up, you have to trade up for a receiver. Now, if you're sitting at 28 and for whatever reason, if Byron Murphy is on the board, again, like I said, you're running to that podium as fast as you can. And asking every team out there what he did to hurt them, because there's no way that he should even be available there. That's a case of just taking the best player available on the board.
Well, and if you're sitting there at 28 and he somehow gets past the Dolphins at 21,
yeah, you'll be pissed.
That's when the Beans making some calls to try and get up there and take Byron Murphy.
Sure, that makes sense.
I see the Bills. I don't know what would it take for the Bills to get in the top 10 to get one of those top 3 receivers?
I've been trying it a few times on different mock drafts, and so far I've come up with 2 first-round picks, so this year's, next year's, 2 second-round picks, maybe 2 of next year's, or you could do this year's second-rounder. It would be a lot, and then probably an additional late round. Yeah, be a lot to get there.
Okay.
I'm gonna play the devil's advocate because I'm not as big as moving up wide receivers, and that's just me. I mean, I don't feel like we're in horrible shape. Yes, we lost Steph Diggs and Gabe Davis, but everyone wanted Gabe Davis out of town. They felt like we upgraded with Curtis Samuel. Diggs is definitely a hit, but when you look around at our wide receiver class and not wide receiver class, but our group, as well as our tight ends, I'm not hating life. But you said it, Jake. He's a generational talent, and you only said there was 3 of them. You said Marvin Harrison, you said Byron Murphy, and who was the third guy you said?
And maybe one of the other receivers, either Malik Neighbors or Roma Dunze, in my opinion. Yeah.
So if you're going for a generational talent, I'm not going to hate it. I'm just saying, but I don't think it's going to happen. Trust me. I do agree that most people feel like if we're moving up the board, it's going to be for a receiver. So good debate question there for sure. I know there are some folks that feel like we should just stay put and move down. We don't have a 3rd round pick. I want us to get a 3rd round somehow, some way. We'll see. But I love it. That's great. He's the overwhelming favorite to be the top defensive tackle off the board. And you already said his stats here: 297. His arms are about 32 and a third inches. He's let's see here. What did he do? He's 6 foot, just a little over 6. And then he ran a 4.87. And his 10-yard split is a 1.69. Interesting that he didn't do any bench presses right at the combine. It's like, come on, big guy like that should be
I'm
showing
surprised
off.
too. Yeah.
Should be showing off. All right, let's get into the second guy, which, guys, help me understand. Is it Jerzon or Johnny? Why is the difference here? What's going on? Too hard to say Jerzon Newton?
I don't know. I've seen both.
Yeah, it's just his nickname. Nothing crazy there. But yeah, this is another guy that. So here's the deal. In my opinion, there are 2 first-round defensive tackles. We talked about the first one, Byron Murphy. The other guy is Jerzon Johnny Newton. He is, again, it's interesting because he's not as big of a defensive tackle. He's 6'2", 295. So again, this is another guy that's under 300 pounds, but he presents such a good skill set. I think he actually did measure in a little over 3 at the combine, but initially I know he was under and he put on some weight. But don't get it twisted. Like he is strong as it gets. He makes up for all those like physical limitations that you think he would have with the size, with his play. He does fantastic work with his hand usage, good pass block or good pass rusher, sheds blocks, good stop in the run, does everything you want with the defensive tackle, not afraid to do the dirty work either and allow his teammate to make a play. So this guy too, not quite as good as Byron Murphy to me, but definitely a first-round talent, and he should go somewhere between, I would say, 17 to late 20s, in my opinion.
You know, Jake, most of the guys we're talking about, these top 10 guys, they border right around 300. It's only Tavondre Sweat who just exceeds that. We're talking just a difference of 3 to 5 pounds between most of these guys. So very interesting. Johnny Newton, what do you think, Mr. Dolphin Keith?
Well, I've seen him mock to the Dolphins a lot, and I'm becoming, like I said, I'm getting more and more used to the idea of the Dolphins taking him. So I've looked at his tape, and he's a really good athlete for his size. I like the way he splits gaps. I like the way he engages blockers. He takes on double teams pretty well for a guy his size. He's not the most athletic. He's not the quickest. He's not going to be a pass rusher in the middle. He reminds me of, dare I say, Christian Wilkins.
He
does. He reminds me of him. So, would I be sad if the Dolphins took him? No, it's not. It's not a sexy pick, but it's a pick that I could see. It's a pick I could see the Dolphins making. So I like Johnny Newton. I like Jerzon Newton. He's going to be a very good player in the NFL for a very long time.
Did you say he was stronger against the run? Because everything I've heard is all about his interior pass rush.
So he's got a good interior pass rush, but I actually love the way he takes on double teams in the run. So some of the film I was looking at, he was taking on a center and a guard combination, and again, like Jake was saying, he's willing to take on two blockers to allow one of his teammates to make a play, and that's kind of what he was doing there. Being good against the run doesn't just mean making the tackles yourself. It means taking up blockers, eating space,
clogging.
And what's that?
Clogging.
Yeah,
clogging the lanes, baby.
Yeah. So with that, I think Newton can be in that respect. I don't think he doesn't remind me a lot of Christian Wilkins. Christian Wilkins was the type of player that would split those double teams and try and make the tackle. Newton's more so of a space eater type of guy, and his size doesn't necessarily reflect that. But you look at him on tape. That's what I see. He doesn't impress me as a pass rusher, though. I don't see him much as a pass rusher.
Yeah.
Interesting. Roy says, Jake, are the Bills looking for a 3-tech or 1-tech?
I would say right now, we're oldest at the 1-tech, technically. I would say with like DaQuan Jones and Austin Johnson. I mean, both those guys are, in their 30s. So to me, it makes more sense to probably look at a guy who could play a 1 or 0. A guy that would fill in for DaQuan Jones. I know we got that guy in Austin Johnson, but looking for the future, we're only getting older at that position.
Red, White, and Bill says McDaniel won't draft defense with his first round pick.
I don't necessarily disagree with you there, Sean, but there's just a gaping hole on defense, just as much as there is on offense for the Dolphins. There's so many holes in this team, they could go either way. And they'll just go best player available. So if they see Johnny Newton as the best player available at 21, I can see them pulling the trigger on it.
Awesome. And then we got Trev from Ireland, live from Ireland. Hi, guys. Hope you all keeping well on here.
2:20 a.m. Trev.
2:20 wow. He works nights. He works nights like Keith does here.
Yeah.
So
love it, Trev.
Good to see you, Trev.
See you, man. Yep.
All right, here, and then let's see here. Look at Paul McMillian. I hope we get one of these two guys for the Chiefs. You missed. Let's see. You're talking wide receivers, buddy.
Wes is just excited because, I saw that. Posted Mel Kiper mocking Xavier Legette to the Chiefs, which I hated. But at least the Bills got Brian Thomas Jr., so that's all right.
By the way, you guys keep mentioning discussions that are going on in our Discord. It's free to join. The link is in the description of the show. Click the link. You can run it on your phone, your desktop, your laptop. It runs, and just a lot of good conversation going on.
Yeah, we'd love to talk to you guys.
What's that?
We'd love to talk to you guys. We're on there all day. I answer stuff all the time. Yeah.
Yep. Let's see here. So let's see. I wonder what Casey will do at 32 with the whole Rashee Rice issue. Well, you know what they're going to do. Do we have to spell it out? Wide receiver. Let's go here. So the next
Sean feels betrayed. By the way, Sean, listen, I didn't know. I'm not taking the hit on this one. We love Keith, but I didn't know that Keith was joining us either. So I love it. You're more than welcome to hop in, but we are trying to keep this to an hour. And we know if you join, we'll probably be talking each other's ears off for a good 2.5.
Hey, Keith took initiative and he said, "Hey, man, Mike, the summit hasn't been going for the last 2 weeks. I'm itching to get on.
Itching to get back on the airwaves.
Would you guys mind if I join?" I said, "Sure, absolutely." Sean, if you would have asked that too, and again, you can join us right now.
Yeah, all right, man. Tap it.
Tap in. All right, let's go on. So these next few guys, I feel like you could rearrange the next 3 or 4 without any problem. And I'm going to give you the list in the order that Jake presented it. But Braden Fisk is number 3 on his list. So talk to us about Braden Fisk and why you think he's number 3 over some of the next 2 or 3 guys.
Well, I love doing player comps, and this is going to be my favorite of all time here. Kyle Williams, okay? High motor guy, really good athlete, actually, at the defensive tackle position. Another guy that is under 300 pounds, but, he makes his size and then some worth every pound of it. This dude ran 4.78, Mike. 4.78 at the combine. Fastest defensive lineman or fastest defensive tackle in the combine. He tested extremely well, and it was to be expected. For a guy like him, he's just a workout warrior, and that all equates to how he plays on the field too. Just the highest motor you'll ever watch. Like, will not give up on plays. He will wear an entire offensive line down just by how much he goes. Like, he is a high motor guy, and that's exactly what I love to see out of a defensive tackle. And that's why he reminds me so much of Kyle Williams, because that's how Kyle Williams made his name in the NFL. He's a 5th-round pick and wasn't super highly touted, wasn't the biggest guy in the world. Kyle Williams was like 6'1"-ish, low 300s, kind of similar to Braden Fisk here. A little bit taller, Braden Fisk, 6'4", 292. But again, under 300 pounds, a little leaner, but just an effort guy that will literally get sacks just because that opposing offensive lineman is going to be so damn tired from just going up against this dude. Like, he's relentless, and that's all I could say about him. I would love to take this kid. He will be probably available in the second round between picks 40-ish to 50-ish. I'd say after that, he'd probably be off the board by then. So might have to trade up to get him. If I don't think 60 is going to cut it.
Yeah, I've got him. Well, again, my secret source says rounds 3 to 4.
Whoa, I don't know about that. I don't know about that one there, Mike.
Just saying. I mean, I
would
feel
love
like
that for us.
I feel like there's a couple other guys ahead of him, and we're going to talk about them in a little bit. For those asking about the defensive ends and the edge, we're going to get into those. We're starting with the top 10 defensive tackles first, and then we'll switch over to those defensive ends and those edge rushers. So I know someone had a question for Mr. Dolphin Keith about Chop Robinson, but we'll wait till we get to that, and we'll ask him that question then. Keith, any thoughts on Braden Fisk?
I love Braden Fisk. He had a hell of a combine too. He showed out in the combine. He's taller, a little leaner than you want for your defensive tackle, but like Jake said, his motor is unparalleled. So he's a guy that I would like to have with the Dolphins, but I think he's not the best fit for the Dolphins right now. I think what they need more so is a space heater. They need a guy like Jerzon Newton, a guy who's going to do better against the run. And I don't see Braden Fisk as being that kind of guy. I think he's a little too lean to hold up against the run long term. So I like Braden Fisk a lot. But, now 3rd or 4th round, like I don't, if he lasts to the 3rd round, I would be shocked. But if he does last to the 3rd round, the Dolphins need to find a way to trade up in the 3rd round to try and get a guy like him. But in the 2nd round, there are probably better options for the Dolphins. Like these next 2 guys we're going to go over. Yeah. They're guys I wouldn't mind seeing the Dolphins taken in the 2nd round.
Yeah, I agree. I think these next 2 we're going to talk about. Next 3 for me over Braden Fisk. One has a big question mark, which we'll talk about when we get to him. Yeah. But let's keep it rolling here, because otherwise we're going to be at 3 hours, which we don't mind. But I don't know. I have clearance for an hour and a half. I don't know about you. It's maybe a little bit longer. So we're going to try to go and get through all of these. So a lot to go through. Let's see. Next one. And this is the one name I'm struggling with the most. Ruke or Horo. I mean, I don't know if I got that even close. But Jake.
Row.
From Clemson. 5 years. I played 5 years at Clemson.
Yeah.
And by the way, finish the book on Braden Fisk. He's 6 years. 6-year guy in college. He was a transfer. So that's interesting to me whenever I see 6 years. I'm not sure what was happening there. Seems a little bit long to me. But hey, he did show up at the combine, and I love his motor skills, like you guys said. But let's go on to Oro. Jake, Jake, talk to me about this young man out of Clemson.
Well, he's originally from Nigeria. Super athletic kid. This is another dude that ran high 4.8s, I think it was, at the combine, 4.89, something like that. And has the ability to play, I would say, anywhere between a 0 to a 5 on the defensive line. That just is, again, another testament to his athleticism. I feel like there's a lot of these guys, and they're all like in that second round territory. And he is, just another great example of that. What I love about him is that he just has functional strength and quickness. Like, he is really, really fast off the ball. I don't know if you guys have ever, I'm trying to think of like a good comparison. Honestly, I would say Ed Oliver is not a bad comparison for this guy. He is really powerful at the point of attack. He offers that versatility, like I said. And he's just quick, man. He's a little bit undersized in terms of his weight, but again, he makes up for it with the other intangibles, and I really like what he brings to the defensive line. Keith, I think it would be a nice fit for you guys because you love taking Clemson defensive linemen, so why not fill Christian Wilkins' spot with Ruke? But yeah, for the Bills, I don't know. He'll probably be around, I would say, late 50s for him as one of he'll get picked. So might have to trade up to take him, but yep.
Yeah, I've seen him mocked to the Dolphins in the second round, and I don't hate it. I mean, if the Dolphins are taking defensive linemen in the second round, then that means they took an offensive lineman in the first round, which you guys know I'm a big fan of. So, like I said, guys like Riku, guys like, we're going to go over Chris Jenkins next, I'm assuming. Guys like this, they fall into this second round range where the Dolphins are going to be picking. And these are players, they're going to be a part of a rotation. None of these guys are going to be, 3 down defensive linemen. They're going to be part of a rotation, especially their rookie years. This guy, I think there's room for him to fill out a little bit. I think that, he can, his frame could probably handle another 15, 20 pounds, if I'm being honest, which would make him even more stout against the run. So, he's a guy I really like. He's actually one of my favorite defensive tackles in this draft next to Byron Murphy. I would rather have this guy in the second round than Jerzon Newton in the first round. If I'm being honest, I've wanted the Dolphins to take an offensive lineman in the first round. I stand by that. I've made my peace with them taking defensive lineman or an edge in the first round if it comes to that. But ideally, a guy like this guy or Chris Jenkins would be available to them in the second round, and they go with a guy like JPJ or Graham Barton in the first round. I like this guy a lot. He's got a great motor. I can't say enough good things about him, honestly. I think if his frame did fill out, if he put on another 15, 20 pounds, he would be in the first round discussion. He'd be up there with Jerzon Newton.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah, so he ran a 4.89, which is not too much slower than Braden Fisk at 4.78, and his actual 10-yard split was faster slightly by 1 percentage point. So the interesting thing, though, I give these guys credit that do a lot of the drills at the combine. The only thing he did was the 40 and the 10-yard split. I don't know if he pulled the muscle, something happened there, but it's interesting that he did not try the bench, the shuttle, the 3-cone, whereas Braden Fisk pretty much did everything except for the 3-cone.
I respect that about Braden Fisk, honestly.
Yeah.
You see a lot of these guys, they go into the combine and they just pick and choose which ones they're going to do. I've mentioned JPJ. JPJ, I think, only did like the high jump, and that was it.
Yeah.
At the combine. It was weird. It was just really weird.
I think you said he was injured or some injury he was from.
But there's a bunch of other guys though too that just pick and choose which skills they're going to do. As a defensive tackle, you should want to bench press. You should want to show your functional strength.
Yeah.
And
that concerns me when they don't do that. It's almost like, come on, guys, you got to do the bench. And to me, that's a negative if you don't. So anyhow, interesting.
Especially as a lineman, right? I mean, you talk about a position where you can demonstrate your strength, outside of the football field. Like, that's a no-brainer usually. But
or I mean, I guess your one concern is you don't want to get injured.
Yeah.
But come on. Or you're fearful that you're not going to be able to press as much as some of these other guys. So,
and that's how it comes off to me.
Yeah.
Honestly, it comes off like, you're afraid you're going to put up 15 reps on the bench press and everybody's going to, think you're a weakling and laugh at you.
Yeah. Right.
That's how it comes off. But, more likely, I remember a few years back, you guys remember Sidney Jones coming out of Washington?
Oh, killed it.
Yeah. He tore his Achilles at the combine, though.
Yeah.
Right at the end there, he tore his Achilles. And he wasn't ever the football player that everybody projected him to be. Like he was moving into the first round discussion, and then he tore his Achilles and just dropped like a rock in the draft. Yep. Eagles ended up taking him, and he had a lackluster career from there. So, there's both sides of the coin. Guys see guys like Sidney Jones, and it's like, well, that happens to me, I'm going to lose millions.
Yeah.
I can see it both ways. But I love what Braden Fisk did, where he just went out there and competed all week.
And he said, "Oh yeah," when he finished his 40 too. Even better. Gotta love it.
His name's not Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid says that, right? Crashing through the wall. Oh yeah. All right, next on our list here, and again, a lot of these guys, like I said, I'm not going to butcher his name again, but the gentleman we were just talking about, he's around 295, hovering. And the next gentleman we're going to talk about, Chris Jenkins Jr., also hovering right around 300 pounds. I got him at 299, a little over. He's 6'2", 4 years experience with Michigan, which you always like to see, playing with a strong team like Michigan. And let's see, what did he do in the? Let me give you some information in the combine before you guys go around and talk about him. He ran a 4.91. His 10-yard split was 1.70. Vertical was 30 inches. His bench, he benched 29 times, which is not the highest. There's a dude who actually bench pressed 38 times. He's not on our list, but Christian Boyd bench pressed 38 times, guys. My goodness.
Yep.
And then another gentleman down at the bottom, Jordan Jefferson. But anyhow, at least he did the bench press. But talk to me. I'll start with you, Jake, about Chris Jenkins Jr.
Well, I hope you remember his father, Chris Jenkins Sr., actually played for the Jets and was wreaking havoc on the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins offensive lines for several years. Unfortunately, couldn't really stay healthy, but he was a fantastic player when he was out there on the field. Made several Pro Bowls, several All-Pro teams. So coming from great bloodlines already. Definitely smaller than his dad, but just a very solid human being, just a solid base. He's hard to move, and he does a really, really nice job against the run. He's got a strong punch at the line of scrimmage, can hold his own against big offensive linemen, like I said. And he's got a really nice swim move. I don't know if you guys have seen that on tape, but it is a thing of beauty, man.
Yeah.
He also, Mike, I know you're going to like this. I know he's on the Bruce Feldman's freak list as well. So kind of cool stuff. But I really like his upside in the NFL. I think he really slots in well. He's going to be your typical, probably more like a 3 tech, but he can play 1 tech if he needs to. And yeah, to me, I feel like his strength, we talked about him benching 29 times. It's going to definitely show at the next level. So glad that he did do that drill, because it definitely served to his advantage. And when you got to go up that far with those long arms, I mean, that's even more impressive.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, the Bruce Feldman's freak list, I used to be big on that. But as I've seen the last couple of years, guys like Zach Kuntz, who was 6'7", tight end for the Jets, vertical of 40. But he's on a team. I don't know if he's on a practice squad or not, but I've seen that now a couple of times where guys are high on just because of the Bruce Feldman's freak list. It hasn't been turning out too well. But Keith, let me throw it to you for Mr. Jenkins' thoughts quickly.
Well, I most definitely remember his father, Jake. His father was a beast. His father was in his time, in his prime, he was one hell of a defensive tackle. I remember him more with the Panthers than the Jets. Honestly.
Yeah. Yep.
But his son, Chris Jenkins Jr., he's a solid, good football player. Again, he's a guy that I would like to see the Dolphins draft in the second round if they go offensive line in the first round. He's a solidly built guy. He's got a great motor. Like we were talking about Braden Fisk earlier with his motor. Chris Jenkins has a motor on par with Braden Fisk. Like he chases plays down from behind regularly. Never gives up. He's going to be a nightmare for interior offensive linemen for as long as he's playing. And by the end of the game, guards and centers are just going to be tired of dealing with him. So
just gassed.
I like Chris Jenkins a lot. He's a really good prospect. He's another guy. You put another 10 or 15 pounds on him, he's in the first round discussion.
Yep.
And I think that there's room for him to put another 10 to 15 pounds on. So I'd like to see him in Miami. I wouldn't mind seeing that at all.
All right. And so, again, did you guys say where you think he's going?
He's like a mid-second round pick, probably.
I've seen him mocked at the Dolphins regularly, Mike.
Yeah.
Where? In the second?
Yeah, in the second.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I think they drafted 53.
Yeah.
53 in the second. That's where I've seen him go.
Yep.
Yeah, my source has him going, the last two going anywhere from the second to third. So
okay. All right. There we go.
In line.
I could say it, it depends on, I think once, I don't know how these next, so these, the first two tackles are pretty solid, but like these next four guys, Braden Fisk, Chris Jenkins, and then the next guy we're going to be talking about, it's anybody's guess where these guys go. But I think once one shoe drops, I think the dominoes are going to fall.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, let's get into the big one here. And he literally big. Devondre Sweat, 366 pounds. I mean, it was a little bit of a reach in round one, but people were mocking him at 1, definitely 2. Then the DWI hits, I think it was last week. And now it's a huge concern. And now I'm seeing 3rd round. And you've got a great talent here. And concern is, though, then I heard some more. I think I heard a follow-up where people are concerned about his partying habits. And as a GM, it concerns me. I'm not going to pick first round with this type of guy, that type of characteristic. I mean, if you couldn't even hold it together before draft day, when all your friends, family, agents were telling you, and you let that happen in today's world when you have so many ways to get home safely, I got a problem with that. So 2nd round, he's fallen to potentially the 3rd round. I don't know. Some guys, I think even Trek Review were saying, I'd still take him. I'd still take him at 28. So let me throw it to you, Dolphin Keith, first. Yeah. Your thoughts on Devondre Sweat, and would you take him in round 1 or 2?
I wouldn't take him in the first round. No. Now, Trek Reviewer, he's saying he would still take him. His DWI, he might be off some teams' boards just because of that. Because not only did he get the DWI right before the draft, which is just such a bad look. Now reports are coming out that he's kind of a class clown and doesn't take things too seriously. And I remember when we did one of the AOC Summit shows way back when somebody profiled Devondre Sweat. It might have been Anthony. I said about Chris Jenkins and Ahoro. I want another 10 to 15 pounds in their frame. I want another 20 pounds off of Devondre Sweat's frame. Yeah. 360. He doesn't need to be playing at 360, and he needs to lose a little bit of weight in order to really realize his potential, I think. And none of this is a good look. Now, 2nd round, I can't go there either. Not for the Dolphins. Dolphins need solid players. They need as sure things as you can get, and Devondre Sweat isn't that. Some team's going to take a chance on him in the 2nd or 3rd round, and they're either going to come away with egg on their face, they're going to come away, with a really, really good defensive tackle at a cheaper price. It's anybody's guess which one's going to be. I really don't know, but I'll say this: at times he outshined Byron Murphy at Texas. At times he looked like the better defensive tackle. So this guy's got all the talent in the world, and I hope he puts it together, but I don't think it's going to be for the Dolphins.
Yeah, Trey, we're going to be talking about those two. They're on our list here, so we'll be getting to those two shortly. Devondre Sweat, he played as many reps as, if not, I think a few more than Byron Murphy this past season. I know people, with the weight, they're like, the conditioning is going to be a problem, but I mean, he played, I think it was like 1,000 reps, something like that. I could be wrong, Jake, but I do know he played more than Byron Murphy. So that says a lot to me as far as those type of concerns. But this is a huge concern, this DWI. So your thoughts?
I think it's going to set him back to about the 4th round, to be honest with you. I think he is 100% off the Bills' radar too. I just don't see Brandon Beane even going there, especially with the fact of him making it a point saying that like he's out of his party phase. Then he goes and does this. And then the Rashee Rice thing is so recent too. So it's just leaving probably a really bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And it sucks because I really wanted this kid. I was all about taking him, not in the 1st round, but definitely in the 2nd if he's there. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's wild because I feel like there's been so much, a lot of differences on where he was going to go in the draft prior to all this coming out. And whether he was a late 1st rounder, early 2nd, late 2nd even, it was kind of all over. And I feel like people just don't know what type of player they're going to get at the next level. Keith made a really good point because he's 366 and probably 20 pounds of that is bad weight. It's a 366 with really bad weight. Like he should drop a little bit. And he actually weighed in more than what was anticipated at the combine. So again, not a great thing to see. But his his upside as a football player is huge, literally huge. He is just your classic space eating run defender. And, it's interesting because he played alongside Byron Murphy at Texas. But Byron Murphy played more like as your typical 0/1 tech than T'Vondre Sweat did even, which shows, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I do think it shows that T'Vondre Sweat can also be an athlete and play a 3 tech as well at that size. So that's a good thing, I would say. But the bad is really outweighing the good right now just because of all this stuff recently that we've been seeing. And you got to really think, like, how serious is he taking this? And will this lead up to more issues in the future? So to me, I think he's probably going to slip to about the 4th.
Yeah. I can see it.
Hey, we got some draft picks in the 4th. So, and by the way, Jake, I have some bad weight I got to lose too. So I think we all
likewise. I am all there.
Right here.
Many of us have some bad weight we got to share.
I could lose 20. Definitely. Got to do it.
You would think, practicing as much as these guys do, playing in these games, you would think it'd be pretty easy. But my goodness, they must be taking in a lot of calories to offset all that hard work they're putting in. So,
for sure.
Crazy stuff there. Let's see. By the way, yes, Battlehawk, you're going to be mad at me again. I didn't get to catch a game. One of these days, you and I'll get you on and we'll chat a little bit why I can't get on to seeing the UFL just yet. I will catch it one of these days. I do promise you that. So don't be mad at me there, sir. Irish Bills Mafia says he's heading back to work in a few minutes. Brilliant show. I'm very interesting listening to your views. We'll listen to the rest tomorrow. Keep up the brilliant work, my friends, and go Bills. Thanks, Trev. We appreciate you. By the way, for all of you who want to give Trev some support, he's in Ireland. He's the Irish Bills Mafia. We've had Trev on our show. We've both been on his show. He had John Fina on his show and did just a wonderful interview with John Fina. So if you go check him out, go give him some love. He's down in our awesome channels. Like, you just got to go down to that and on our homepage and click the subscribe button. Go check him out. Good stuff there in Ireland. He's trying to get the Bills, Mafia big over there. Like, just let's go. But he's fighting a big battle there. I forget who's got the edge. I think the Steelers over there have a lot of love.
Roonies. Yeah, there's a lot of.
They're doing a lot of marketing over there. But appreciate all the work you're doing there, Trev. Let's see there. Chad, and by the way, I saw Linda come in, and appreciate you, Linda. Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, Linda.
Always good to see you out there. And then, all right, let's see. I have watched. Let's see.
Love that, Roy.
Chad says I have watched each game of the UFL so far. Wow, Chad.
Hey, and Chad doesn't usually watch the live games with a little less pressure, right?
Because he doesn't have a stake in it.
Right. St. Louis, man. Yeah. What are they? 3-0 now? They won against San Antonio, 31-24.
Here, I thought you were talking about the Cardinals.
Oh.
Roy, most of my bad weight is between my ears, so I've been told.
You and me both, Roy.
Yep.
Absolutely love it. All right, let's move on to the next guy here. Now, this is the guy Jake put in the list, and at first I was like, Jake, I'm researching him. He's a defensive end, Brandon Dorless, and Jake says no, he's a tweener. I see him playing both, and I did a little more research, and he had a lot of snaps at across the line there. So great take there, Jake. And I'll let you start with them. Brandon Dorless, tell us about him.
He is. He's a really good athlete out of Oregon, and he is a tweener. He could be a 3-4 defensive end, or he could be a 4-3 defensive tackle. And I've seen him play anywhere between, and this is the beauty of it because he is so versatile. He could play 3 tech, 5 tech, even 1 tech. He has the strength to do so. Really, really solid kid out of Oregon. I like his tape a lot. Was very impressed by it. For the most part, to me, he looks the part. He's definitely worthy of a second rounder, in my opinion. I know he's been given a 3rd round grade as well at times. But, you're looking at versatility. And I think right now he's like a poor man's, almost like Eric Armstead-ish, if you will. Kind of similar, not as tall, but definitely similar in that sense, where I think he'll end up at the defensive tackle position. But right now, teams don't really know what to do with him, but it's a good problem to have.
Aren't you a little concerned about his weight on the interior? He's only like 283.
So he weighed in at, I think it was 291, Mike. 6'3", 291 was his final.
Was that what they weighed him at the combine?
Believe. Yeah.
All right, fact check that. My information says 283, but regardless, a little concerning there if that is 283, but if he's around 300, perfect. Yeah. So I love a guy who can play, pretty much across the line, anywhere you need him. Keith, you have any thoughts on Mr. Brandon Dorless?
I don't like Brandon Dorless as much as Jake does. And when we did the first show, Jake talked him up, and I went and watched the tape. Brandon Dorless, there are snaps where he looks like Tarzan, and there are snaps where he looks like Jane. To be quite frank, he disappears for large portions of games, and against better competition, he disappears even more. So, is that because he's trying to, let other teammates make the plays, or is that because he's being overpowered? I'm going to go with a little bit of both. I think Brandon Dorless is a hell of an athlete, and I think he needs to be coached up before he's going to be unleashed fully on teams. So I think his rookie year, you're looking at a guy who's going to give you 15, 20 snaps a game, and then you're going to coach him up all season and hope that in years 2 and 3, his snap count goes up and his physical skills come to the forefront. So I do like Brandon Dorless. Don't get me wrong, but I think he needs a little bit more seasoning. And, for a guy who needs a little bit more seasoning, I'm not spending a 2nd round pick on him. He's a 3rd or 4th round pick to me.
Okay.
Jake,
I like it, Keith.
Validate the
no, I definitely agree with what he was saying on some of those things. Definitely. He's got a great bull rush. I will say this. And I think his strength, when you look at him on tape, even though he is undersized, like he makes up for it with his strength. And you are right, Mike. He is only 283. So that's interesting. I thought he was a little heavier than that. So it is a little concerning. Also saw something that I just passed over here. His pro comp on NFL.com right now is Carlos Boogie Basham. So that's also very interesting. So I don't know if we want to
end it right there.
I don't love that. I don't love that.
That's a rough comp right there.
Oh my goodness.
But listen, when we took Boogie Basham in the 2nd round, man, he was more pro ready, I think, at the time than even Groot was. But obviously Greg Rousseau has had a much better career. But Boogie Basham, similar situation where he could play any position on the defensive line.
Don't they try to be more complimentary when they give those pro comps? Like,
they do.
That's kind of rough.
Yeah, that's interesting. Lance Zierlein gave him that. So
can you imagine you're the player and you see who you're comp to? Boogie Basham.
Yeah. Now it does say he did mention. Let's see. Did he mention the bull rush in here? Yeah, drive strength to bull rush, finesse protection. I like that. Yeah. All right.
Like if you're an edge coming out and like you're being comped to Vernon Golson, it's like, oh, great.
Yeah, yikes. That's not a good look, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. Where did you say you see him drafted? I'm seeing 3rd to 4th round.
I see 3rd to 4th too, Mike. That's where I was thinking.
Late 2nd, early 3rd is what I've been seeing in a lot of mock drafts, but those things are all over the place.
That's the problem with this class, though, is there's so much talent.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I could see Dorlus going in the 2nd round because some of the plays he makes, some of the tape he puts on there, I could see him going in the 2nd.
Splash
but
play.
I could also see teams falling in love with Savondre Sweat or Chris Jenkins and taking them above Brandon Dorlus, or seeing Brandon Dorlus as a big, slow edge rusher more so than an inside tackle. Brandon Dorlus, I could see him going anywhere between the 2nd and the 4th round because it just depends on where teams see him playing in the NFL.
Scheme fit. Yeah. Right. Yep.
All right. Good stuff there, Trey. Brandon Dorlus has really bad advanced metrics compared to a lot of these other guys, both in run and pass D. In the Discord, Trey, share with us where you're getting this advanced metrics. I'd love to see some of that.
He's our analytics guy. Trey, you are our official analytics guy because it is awesome what you bring to the table, man. We appreciate it.
Here's let's move on to this next guy who I think, Jake, I'm seeing this guy in the top 50, means 1st or 2nd rounder, and you bypassed them, and that's Michael Hall Jr.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw it to you to kind of explain yourself there because, he played 3 years for Ohio State, right around that 295, which I said most of these guys that we're talking about, these top 10 defensive tackles, are all around that 295, 300 pounds. Let's see here. Let me give you some of his metrics at the combine. He ran a 4.75. That's pretty darn quick for a big man. His 10-yard split was 1.65. Vertical jump, 33 inches. Broad jump, so like 90 inches. And then he benched 24. So he was a little light on the bench, honestly. But I don't know, maybe just want to go and say, all right, 24. Like, there was no sweat off my back. I'm good. I don't want to injure myself. But talk to me. I mean, I'm serious. My source, and I'm telling you, my source, I can't say who it is.
Yeah.
But he's got good information, and he's saying top 50. What are you thinking?
I think his potential definitely is there for sure. I think he's a little more raw than these other guys, though. It just not as like I think he actually will be a really solid player in the NFL, but just not quite as pro ready at the moment, if that makes sense. I know he was at Ohio State and like well coached, played a little undersized. I actually want to bring up this comment too. So I don't think I did talk about Michael Hall earlier, but this is a very good point by Trey. Ohio State does have a policy of keeping their defensive tackles a little bit lighter. So, he's 295 at his pro day. So that's great to see because I think that was a big knock on him. But, I mean, all the defensive tackles that we've been talking about have been in that range. So I'm not terribly concerned about that. I just feel like he doesn't fit the, I guess, traditional build of a defensive tackle. Some of these other guys, like their frames are there, and to me he didn't really fit that bill of it. I think his hands, he struggles a little bit with hand placement, read and react with certain blocking schemes too. He definitely struggles there at times, and I know that they've talked a little bit about this too, but like concerns with conditioning and him not being able to play 3 downs or 4 downs or whatever it may be. So that's never really good to hear. And I think he's definitely improved because obviously, you're hearing some good things that he's put on some good weight and obviously tested really well at the combine. So hopefully he's taking care of all that. And that's just more so effort things, right, on his end. But I have him going like late 2nd, Mike.
Well, top 50. We're close, right?
Yeah, actually, no, I guess you're right. Yeah,
we're close. Let me just give you some notes from the source that I have here. Basically, he says he's undersized, leaving concerns about whether or not he will be able to earn a 3-down role. Let's see. He's lightning quick first step, lethal swim move, and solid complement of power and bend was good enough for Hall to register as 3rd in all of college and pass rush win rate and he continued to show how dominant he can be against NFL competition with a good week down at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, sir, Keith?
I see this guy as a real sleeper, Mike. I actually like him as much as I like those 3 and 4 type guys, Horo and Chris Jenkins. Braden Fisk. I actually like this guy more than Braden Fisk for the Dolphins. But he's a sleeper. To the Dolphins draft him in the second round, I don't know. He's only 20 years old. That's another thing you guys need to note here. He's only 20 years old, so there's time to put some more on his frame. I don't think he'll lose any of his quickness or speed as a pass rusher if you put another 10, 15 pounds on him. Good weight. But, his motor and everything like that, it can be attributed to the fact that he's 20 years old. He's going to go into the NFL a full, year and a half, 2 years younger than most of these guys are going to be drafted with him. So I like him a lot. He's a sleeper to me. And I didn't know much about him until a few weeks ago when I kind of started looking at his tape. And, man, from the interior, he'd be a really nice piece to be rushing the passer, sorry.
Have not tapped into his full potential. So, yeah, there's a lot of meat on the bone there.
But he's another guy like Brandon Dorlus. I think, you're going to see 10 to 15 snaps a game for him his first season. It's going to be more like a redshirt season than anything else. So, which is why he's dropping, because his potential, he's got first-round potential, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I love guys playing for Ohio State and Michigan. And Roy, no, I mean, yeah, Google's a lot of our source for a lot of things, but not in this case, sir. Not in this case. Promise you that. All right, so good stuff there. Again, potential sleeper. Jake doesn't think he's worthy. I mean, you said late second, so I think I matched up pretty well with my source for you. And you agree with that, Keith? Did you see him going second round?
I could see him going second, third. I could see him slipping past some of these guys that we've already mentioned and going early fourth. He's another one that because he's so raw, it just depends on whether or not a team falls in love with his physical traits.
Yeah.
So I could see him going even early fourth round.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the next guy here. We got a lot to get through here. How are we doing on time? Ooh. Oh boy.
Oh,
the rush hour is looking like a
2 hour.
A 2 hour rush hour. Let's see here. Let's see. Trey's saying he's got some information here. Okay, I lied. Dorlus has good pass rush. My graphs are mostly from ex-PFF employees who left to get paid.
He's got a mean bull rush, man. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
I've seen it a few times on tape, but it looks fantastic. He's pretty damn good there.
He's saying Football Insights is a good Twitter follow. You guys, any of you? I mean, that's the one social media I've kind of stayed away from is Twitter, and I know there's a lot of great information out there. I'm just, I just see how some people get beat up out there, and I'm not willing to put my toe in the water just yet. I have an account.
I feel like Twitter's the only one I really reference to. Like I'm on Instagram, I'm on the other ones, but I'm more Twitter. That's where I get all my sports info right away. And it is a cesspool. There are some really, really bad things about it. You can go down some rabbit holes that you don't want to go down, but you get information pretty quickly.
So I follow a few subs on Reddit, and they kind of, bring me to, Twitter sometimes NFL.com. I normally get my stuff from Reddit. There's a NFL draft subreddit that I go on, and guys are profiled all the time. Again, it can be a cesspool, and there could be completely just erroneous takes on there, but it's a good place to start.
Yeah, so Trey supporting what you're saying, supporting what I'm saying. See, Roy?
Nice comp.
You can't find this from Google. I'm telling you. Michael Hall's comp is how do you say that name?
Justin Matabuike. Yeah. He just had a career high. He just got paid too. He well deserved.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see here. All right. let's move on here to the next guy here, which is
Dwayne Carter.
Dwayne Carter out of Duke for 5 years, 5-year guy. Let me give you some information real quick before you talk about him a little bit. And let's see, did he make the combine? He did. Ran a 4.99. Split was 1.72. Pretty much did everything. His vertical jump was 32 inches. His broad jump was 90. 3-cone was 7.95. Shuttle was 4.75. The only thing he didn't do is the bench. Again, crazy. He did everything else, man. What are you holding out for? So again, he's Duke. He's 6'2", 304 pounds. So Jake, talk to us quickly about Dwayne Carter and why he made the top 10 list.
Super, super good run defender. Maybe the best in this class. I'm going to go out there and say that. Like, he is really, really good against it. I think that is certainly his strength. Where he does lack a little bit in sack production, he certainly makes up for it and on that side of the field. So, and that part of his game, I should say. He is a high motor guy. He's a 3-down player, super high IQ. He is a tremendous leader. I love what he brings to the table as a locker room guy. It's a perfect Buffalo Bills fit. Like, if you could put down a player that the Bills should take in those like mid rounds, and you're looking at a specific position like defensive tackle, Dwayne Carter should be right on top of their board because he fits the culture of the Buffalo Bills.
And where you seeing him? Did you say that already?
Like 3rd round.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got him going in 4th or 5th. So just saying.
Really? Wow.
I was thinking 4th myself. Yeah.
It's going to be fun. We're going to look back at these shows where we were saying these players we were taking, and we'll have a follow-up show after the draft and kind of have some fun with it, because I'm sure we're going to be way off on some. We're going to be spot on others. It's always fun to go back and see. Mm-hmm. Okay, he says, okay, Mike, is it Mike Mayock?
Mike Mayock. I miss him on NFL Network. I really like Daniel Jeremiah, but Mike Mayock was so good, man. Like, that was so fun to hear his analysis and breakdown, and God, it was awesome.
What's he up to nowadays, Mike Mayock?
I don't know. Just living the retired life or something?
Well, he became GM for the Raiders, and then he just kind of, after everything went down with Gruden, he just kind of dropped off the face of the earth, it feels like.
Yeah. I don't know, actually. It's a great question.
I will say this, Roy, I do associate a lot with folks named Mike. Michael Jordan started it. Want to be like Mike. So, could be. Not going to say. All right, Dwayne Carter. Did we finish up with Dwayne?
Yeah. Everything Jake said is true. Dwayne Carter, great leader. He was a 3-year team captain at Duke.
Special guest. I got to show you guys because she just.
Okay.
Oh, is it the puppy?
She just worked her way into the room here.
Oh my goodness!
She just got all done up today. Her name's Cora. My door was slightly closed, but she pawed her way in here, and I always get a little leery when she's in the office because she likes to chew on some things sometimes. But she's adorable. She's a cutie, and she's a Bills fan. She went on when we went on that run towards the end of the season. We had just gotten her.
Yeah,
I had a Bills shirt for her, and she wore it every game. And we went on that run, so we'll put her down. And her mom left to go run some errands. Her favorite person in this house is my wife. I'm last on the list, so I know she's not able to find me anywhere right now because she doesn't hang out with me at all until I'm absolutely the last person. But anyway, let's get back to the show here.
I love it. I think next we had Leonard Taylor. Is that right?
Leonard Taylor. Someone was asking about that. So let's go.
Another ACC guy. Yeah.
Let's go. Let's let me catch up here. Leonard, where do I got him? There he is. All right. 34-inch arms, buddy. 34-inch arms.
Oh yeah.
He's a 3-year guy out of Miami, 6'3", 305 pounds. And let's see what he did at the combine this year. Let's see. He ran a 5.12, split was 1.76, 30-inch vertical jump, 90-inch broad jump, ran the 3-cone and 7.81. Did not do the bench or the shuttle. So, Jake, talk to us about Leonard Taylor.
He's really like, so he's 6'3", 305 around there, something like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting because he's got a really good first step. He's got violent hands. I just think he's a little raw. He only registered like 1 sack this year. But man, when he is on, he is on. The problem is there's just a lack of consistency, I feel like, and that's why he's probably kept out of the second, or even maybe he'll probably be a third, maybe late third or early fourth rounder. But there's a reason why he's going there. I think he has really, really good potential just because of his violent hands. Like, this dude he's really impressive when he's on. Does a really nice job disengaging from blocks. Really quick first step, like I said, strong in the run game as well too. But I just, you'd like to see a little more consistency, because it's like every other play, it's like he's either getting totally taken out of the play or he's making the play. So that's my only issue with him. But yeah, it would be a really nice get for the Bills there, and maybe the third or fourth, like I said.
Yeah, he gets taken out of plays too easily at times. He gets, for a guy who's 6'3", 300 pounds, he gets overpowered too often. And I don't think that's an indictment on his strength. I think that's more so an indictment on his technique. Yeah. So he needs to be coached up. A lot of these guys do. It's not a knock on him. It's just the way it is. So coach this guy up, and you might have yourself a solid defensive tackle in a season or two. Just not this season. This season again, he's another rotational guy, 10 to 15 snaps. I like some of the stuff I saw from him on tape. He made some really great plays. He went to the U, so I could see him just going right across town, going to Miami. But to me, he's like a 4th or 5th round pick.
Okay. Yeah, I like it, Keith.
All right, Jake.
I get high grades on everyone. I am like, I'm like afraid to say 5th round. Like, everyone's a day 2 pick to me. It just seems to be, I don't know what it is,
Jake, you're going to hit on some of them for sure.
I know I will. That's what I'm banking on.
Back and let's see what my source has Leonard Taylor going 3rd or 4th round.
All right. Well, hey, I'm not off on that one then. That's pretty good.
You're probably, I put your knowledge up against anybody. So, Jake, if you say something, I trust it more than any other source that I go to.
I appreciate that. So, that's a
and
very
Keith as well.
Yeah.
All right, you had an honorable mention, Mr. Mason Smith. You want to talk about him a little bit?
Yeah, you talk about a potential guy. Like, I think he actually looks better than Mekhi Wingo and Jordan Jefferson. Like, Mason Smith is that dude. This guy sheds blocks. He's just really, really impressive on tape. The good is really good, and he looks like a first-round talent. And similar to Leonard Taylor, the bad is really bad. And also, he comes off of, an injury-riddled season. He tore his ACL, I think, in 2022. There were some rumblings of off-the-field issues as well with Mason Smith. But, man, I really like him in the 3rd round. I would love for the Buffalo Bills to take a shot on him. Huge fan. Would encourage anyone to go watch his tape.
You have any thoughts on him, Keith?
Yeah, we've talked about Mason Smith on the AFC Summit.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of potential. He does, 6'5", 306. I drew a comp to him, Kevin Williams.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I drew a comp to him and Kevin Williams in the AFC Summit, and I stand by it. He's got that kind of frame, and he's got that kind of potential. But I think the problem is a 6'5" defensive tackle. Guys like that, it's harder to play with leverage. So you're going to get, your 6'3", 6'4" guard or center. It's easy to get underneath a guy who's easier to get underneath a guy who's 6'5". So what Mason Smith needs to learn is he needs to play with a little bit more leverage. Yep. Also, don't love his motor. Didn't have the best motor in college, but again, these are all issues that can be coached up. I like Mason Smith a lot. I like Mason. He's got the potential to be one of the top defensive tackles in this draft. He's got the frame He's got a godlike frame to be one of the best defensive tackles in this draft. But you know, it's going to take some coaching. It's going to take a little bit more maturity on his part, and he needs to stay healthy too. That's been an issue for him as well, like you said, Jake.
Yeah, and I'll say this, like, man, his good tape, like, he looks like a first round pick. He looks the part of a first round pick.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are some plays where it's like, man, he like took a play off, and it's like, dude, like this is stuff you can control. Like that's just not what you like to see. But then other plays, it's like this guy's got a super high motor. He's chasing down, running backs 10 yards down the field. Like he can play, man. He can be something at the next level. He's just gotta lock in, man. Gotta lock in.
Yep.
That's a good point by Trey. By the way, if you see me moving around, the dog's still trying to get settled here. But this is a great point by Trey. If the film's so bad for these DTs, sounds like top 5 defensive tackles, all the more imperative. And kind of said that at the beginning where there is kind of a drop off after the 4th or 5th. There's some good guys, don't get me wrong. But yeah, if you want a day one starter, day one contributor, I'm thinking one of these top 5, Trey.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. There is a drop off, but we've also named some good things about the next 5 or 6 guys.
Yeah, exactly.
And these next 5 or 6 guys, Mason Smith included, he's a guy that could easily be in the top 5 if things shook out better for him. He missed some time in 2021, missed a lot of time in 2022 with a torn ACL. Next AFC Summit is Tuesday. We're going to be, we'll be back on Tuesday, Roy.
Finally. Yeah.
Their vacation's over, man. They took unexpected leave of absence, and now here we are 3 weeks later, and they're going to be back at it. So everyone's been asking about them, including Roy. And Tuesday.
That's going to be a fun show because I might be controlling the Dolphins that show for a mock draft. Keith might be controlling the Bills. Anthony might be controlling the Patriots, and then hopefully
I don't know how I feel about that, Jake. I don't know how I feel about controlling the Dolphins, man. You're going to draft a kicker in the first round.
I'll do my worst. All
right, guys. Let's get over to our second list, and we're going to have to try to put a rush on this. We want to keep it under 2 hours, but we got 43 minutes still, but let's be a little quicker here. So I may not go to both of you on these takes. I may just rotate, ask a different person each time. But again, so you could find these guys on your list, maybe in slightly different order. And I'd love to hear that in the chat. I'd love to hear that on folks that watch this afterwards. If you'd put any one of these guys above the order that we currently have them in. And then, of course, we have to remember, in case I forget, guys, when we get to Chop Robinson, the question was what Keith thinks of him. We're not there yet. He's 4th on our list, by the way. So if I forget to ask that, please, one of you, remember to bring it up. So let's start with Jake's first guy on his list. Again, these are defensive ends, edge guys. Dallas Turner is number 1 on Jake's list.
Yeah, this is a top 10 worthy pick. It's interesting because this year it's so offensively loaded, and they're saying even the first 10 picks might be all offensive players. That's just how it might fall. But this guy, in any other year, he's probably a top 3 pick, I'll even say. Like, that's how damn good he is. Really, really good production. This past year, he had 11 sacks at Bama, but just an incredibly natural fit as an edge, and he'll be so damn good at the next level, like guaranteed 10 sacks. Like, this dude's going to put up some really good numbers. He can improve a little bit as a run defender, but even so, really solid against the run too, but just a super, super high ceiling with his pass rush traits. He's got everything you want and then some. So yeah, he's top 10. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think he's actually a better pass rusher coming out of Alabama than Will Anderson was last season.
Yep, I agree with that.
He's got all the talent in the world. He would have, like you said, Jake, he would have been a top 5 pick if it wasn't for just all the quarterback, just the top tier offensive talent in this draft.
Yep.
But he's still a top 10 pick, I think. I don't see this. There's no way Dallas Thomas makes it outside of the top 10.
Dallas Turner.
Did I say Dallas Thomas?
Yeah.
Dallas Turner. Yeah. There's no way Dallas Turner makes it out of the top 10. he's going to be so good. He's a 10 sack a year guy. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, guys, at his combine, he ran a 4.46.
Yeah.
10-yard split was a 1.54. His broad jump was 10 feet. His vertical, guys, it's vertical 40.5 inches.
Sheesh.
You know, in a different draft class, he would have he could be in discussion for top overall pick in a different draft class. Honestly, he's going to be so good, and he's being so underrated because this class is so top heavy with offensive players.
Mm-hmm.
You know, honestly, when I first started looking at this draft class, I knew who Dallas Turner was, but you know, I got enamored with the Roma Dunzes and the Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr. I get enamored with all these offensive players. Dallas Turner gets pushed to the side, and then I really focus in on Dallas Turner, and it's like, man, he is so good. He's going to be so good. You know, there are guys on this defensive tackle list I've seen drop to the Dolphins. Dallas Turner, there's no shot.
No,
there's no shot
at all.
Yeah.
Neither of our teams are even going to sniff that. Yeah. It's like.
Yeah. He's great to talk about. He's great to envision in the Dolphins uniform, but it ain't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Jake, I got to ask you, by the way, I feel like I didn't mean to correct you there, Keith, because Jake always doesn't correct me when I say a name wrong, and I rewatch the show and I'm like, damn it, I got butchered this guy's name. By the way, I already know that I butchered some broad jumps. I might have said 90 inches. It was like 9 feet is what that was supposed to be, not 90 inches, but which I don't know. It's 90 inches divided by 12. What are we at there? And do quick
13,
math there.
That's yeah, something like that.
All right,
10?
I might be
10,
reading that.
You said 90 inches?
Yes, I might be right.
So it's like
90 inches. Wait a minute. Holy smokes. Hold on.
Yeah, let's do the calc. 90 divided by 12. I'm trying to see if I'm reading this the way they got this this number here. It's kind of
12 times 6 times 12 times. No, that can't be right.
Let's bring up the calculator. Let's do it here, guys.
So his broad jump was
12.
10 foot 7 inches, actually, it says here.
Yeah.
So that would be.
Yeah. So I was
no, it
I was
can't be
saying it wasn't. It was 7.5 feet. So no,
Right.
they were over 9 feet. So if you heard me say broad jump and you use inches, convert it to feet.
Yeah, 7.5 feet. Thanks, Roy. Listen, I claim to be a numbers guy sometimes too. I don't know where I was going in my head there, but appreciate you, Roy.
And Roy, no Google. You could use Google. Google's damn good at that. I just brought up the little calculator on the PC. If you want to know who that source was, it's the PC calculator. All right, Dallas Turner here, and I have my source has a comp of Leonard Floyd at the low, and Brian Burns at the highest.
Love that.
Now, inform me because I have no clue. Brian Burns. Who the heck
Brian Burns.
Tell me about him.
It's crazy because that's how underrated he is. Like this dude played in Carolina for years and was putting up numbers and doing amazing things, but does not get the notoriety that a lot of these other great edge rushers get. And that's just because he's playing with the Carolina Panthers. Actually just traded to the New York Giants. So it's a new start for him. But yeah, Brian Burns, I mean, talk about sack productivity. Just got paid hefty dollars to be a New York Giant, but put up some really nice numbers.
I realize that this is probably not fair to do to Dallas Turner this early before he's even been drafted. But when I watch him play, I see Julius Peppers.
Oh,
I'm just throwing that out there. When I see him play and I see Julius Peppers, that's not fair because Julius Peppers is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So it's not fair to do to Dallas Turner right now. But I said it. It's out there.
Love that. I love it, man.
Trey, I am actually a math guy, so don't tell my bosses. But under pressure and like I'm trying to take care of all the comments and stuff, I am a math guy. I'm a data guy.
Fair
Trust
enough.
me.
Love it.
All right, let's move on to the next one because we got to move along quickly. So Dallas Turner, definitely a first rounder, no doubt about it. Let's move on to the next guy on Jake's list, which is Jared Verse. also being mocked in as a first rounder as well. So for sure, lock him in first round. Let me throw it to you, Keith, about Mr. Jared Verse from Florida State. 4-year. He was a transfer to Florida State. I don't know how many years he played at
Albany. He played at Albany prior to Florida State, which I love.
All right.
Yeah. I like Jared Verse. I like him a lot. I've seen him mock to the Dolphins. You know, he's one of those guys where if he actually does drop to the Dolphins, they should just turn the card in and have it say Jared Verse. He's a really good player. I'd like him to be a little bit stronger. He's a little light for the position, but his athleticism is off the charts. He's going to be a really good edge rusher. He's got a really nice bend. Pro comp, I'm having a harder time with, but I think Jared Verse is going to be a really good player in the NFL. And again, the Dolphins need edge rushers right now because there's no telling when Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb will be back. And they signed Shaq Barrett in the offseason.
Yep.
Outside of him, they don't really have many viable edge rushers right now. So they're going to have to pick up one in this draft. If it's Jared Verse, I'm not upset about that.
Nice.
Love it.
All right, next on our list, which is learned a little bit from Trey in our Discord, and this is Latu Latu, who is a UCLA. Played his last 2 years at UCLA. Played for Washington, I believe, early on. Was injured, had a spinal injury, and Washington was pretty much saying, "Pack it in. You're not going to play again." So this is a great story right here. And yes, anytime there's a spinal injury and you have surgery, you know, a la Micah Hyde, there's concerns afterward. And yet he went out, proved everyone wrong, and was elite. And honestly, if he didn't have that injury, there's no doubt to me he's number one on this list. But let me throw it to you, Jake, to talk about this young man.
Yeah, I really, really like him. Super mature kid. Obviously battled through a ton of adversity. But when you watch him on tape, like he's very patient. He's looking beyond blockers. He's always involved in the play no matter what. He can't be stopped. Just relentless motor. Talk about like a really good bull rush. Like this dude, it's insane. Like he's just a menace out there. Now, my only issue is I have a hard time of deciding whether he's going to be like a 3-4 stand-up outside linebacker or if he's going to be a 4-3 defensive end. I don't know where he's going to go there. I know he's already drawn some pro comps to like TJ Watt. So if that were the case, obviously he'd be a really good fit as like that 3-4 outside linebacker. But that's the thing too. He's super athletic. He can actually drop and play coverage if he needs to. Put him out there in the flats like he can cover if you need him to. But yeah, high motor guy, super good production at UCLA. I think he led the Pac-12 in sacks with like 13 this past year. Just incredible, man. He's going to be a really good talent.
Do any of those, does that injury concern you?
No.
Will you still take him as a first rounder if it
concerns you, Keith?
Yeah.
Talk to us, Keith.
Neck injuries, man.
Fair.
Neck injuries. Leighton Vander Esch was just forced into early retirement.
That's a good point.
Because of neck injuries. Jalen Phillips was a guy who was off my board for the Dolphins when the Dolphins drafted him because of neck injuries at UCLA. Oddly enough, he ended up graduating from the U, but at UCLA he had some neck injuries that had me concerned coming out. And should those neck injuries rear their ugly head again, that's it. That's it.
Fair.
And I love his talent, Jake. I agree with everything you had to say about him. His talent is off the charts.
Yeah.
But the neck injury, he's off my board. I can't. It's just it's a shame and it's devastating. And again, those injury concerns never reared their ugly head with Jalen Phillips yet. But if they do, it's going to happen quickly and it's going to happen harshly. And if it does, his career is over. Leighton Vander Esch tried to come back how many times, and he just couldn't. The neck injury just kept on piling up to the point where he just had to retire.
I would say the only good news is, like, since that injury has occurred, he's been extremely durable at UCLA. Yeah. So that's definitely encouraging, but it is always in the back of your mind, like, shoot, he's won one more injury away to, probably having to hang him up.
Yeah.
So that's definitely true, Keith.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting with him. Definitely concerning, pulling for the kid. I love the fact that he, they told him, no, you might as well start thinking about things outside of football. He said, no,
that's wild.
I'm not.
Yeah.
And here he is playing. And his stats were incredible. I don't have them in front of me. I just read that they were in amazing stats for the last 2 years. I don't know if one of you guys want to bring that up quickly. But so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
13 sacks. Yeah, 13 sacks this past year. Also had 2 interceptions. Yeah, led the Pac-12. He was a finalist for Chuck Bednarik Defensive Player of the Year award. He was
tackles for loss.
Yeah, I think he won the Ted Hendricks Award too. Yeah, he was accoladed too. I mean,
2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles. Look, the guy has so much talent. I feel bad saying he's off my board because he's worked so hard to come back, and he became such a great piece for that UCLA defense. But and Roy Collins, 23.5 sacks since his neck surgery.
Yeah.
So, I'm probably wrong here. I am wrong here because he worked so hard to come back. I shouldn't be the one to say he's off my board. But
I mean, it's
man, neck injuries. They
Yeah.
scare the hell out of me, guys.
That's a valid concern. It's a valid concern. Take it from a guy who had surgery and 3 vertebrae fused when he was a young man. Kind of ruined my sports career. But it's always a concern. And we saw it with Micah Hyde as well. And you start the deterioration of your back faster. He's young. He's in shape. Mm-hmm. He's doing everything he can to make sure his body's at an elite level. Unlike I did after my injury, or not injury, it wasn't even an injury. It was scoliosis. Had to get the surgery for that.
Oh, man.
But I still have a 4-foot-long metal bar in my back, which they don't take out unless it bothers you. But anyhow, so it's a concern. So Keith, I don't blame you for saying he's off your board. I really don't. There's other guys that
I don't, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, Mike. I'm sure that there are other teams that say, look, we can't draft him. But then again, the Dolphins drafted Jalen Phillips. Like I said, they drafted him 15th overall, and I was the one saying, "Don't do it, don't draft him." I was watching the draft with my dad, and I said when they drafted him, I was like, "Damn, they drafted a guy with neck issues," and whose face has egg on it. This guy's.
Well, someone's going to draft them, and I bet they're going to be happy they did.
Yeah.
He'll go in the first round. There's no doubt.
It's just a matter of where and who, and it's hard to project. I've seen him mock the Dolphins as well, and
Hey, the strangest things. I meant to bring this up again. I'm old, so I always remember it later. But since this is a long show, we talked about why De'Vondre Sweat will fall down the board because of his DWI. If you all remember, we talked about why Dan Marino fell down the board because GMs heard about him doing weed, partying with his team in the senior year. Fell down the board. There's no way Dan Marino should be taken near the bottom of the first round, but he was for those reasons. So, GMs, again, it's all going to be about what the doctors tell him, right? He's probably going to have to be evaluated, do some x-rays, show his x-rays, whatever. The teams clear him, and I'm sure plenty will, based on the fact that he played 2 solid seasons. Watch out for this young man.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. This is a gentleman that, Jake took a little flack the other night, Mr. Chop Robinson. And, I've been reading more and more about him, Micah Parsons comp. I'm like, dude, we need an edge rusher. We really do. I mean, the Bills, Groot hasn't been that guy. AJ Epinesa, maybe he could be. We've seen flashes of it. Now he'll get a full, he'll get more workload this year, and maybe we'll see it. He's also seems to always get dinged up, AJ Epinesa. I'm just saying he does. So we need, and we saw it last year. We had no pressure when it mattered. Chop Robinson. So first, let's answer the question to you, Keith. What are your thoughts on Chop Robinson?
I love his athletic traits. They just don't always translate to the field. The parallels have been drawn to Micah Parsons. they went to the same school. They both went to Penn State, so I can understand the comparisons there. But that's kind of where they end because Micah Parsons came out of Penn State as
an inside linebacker.
Yeah, but also a finished product. Micah Parsons came out and the production on tape, the production, the physical traits, they all lined up. Whereas with Chop Robinson, you don't necessarily see that. You can see the physical traits, but on the field, it doesn't always. He disappears for longer stretches than I would like. There's a guy, his running mate at Penn State, Adisa Isaac. There were times where Adisa Isaac outshined Chop Robinson at Penn State, and it's fair to wonder why. So I like Chop Robinson. I don't love him. Not like the other guys in the first round of this draft.
What about you, Jake?
Yeah. So I after Anthony grilled me a little bit last week, I'm like, listen, I got to go back and watch some more tape because Keith, I was very much with you on this.
Yeah.
Not a finished product. Just, the potential's obviously there, but to me, there are other guys that are more pro ready. But man, I will say this: you can't teach the first step, and this dude was just living in the backfield. Now, whether he made the play, that's to be up to consideration, of course, and it did vary play by play. But man, he is, if he can do that at the next level, all the more impressive. But I mean, guys weren't even out of their stance, and he was across the line of scrimmage. Like it was pretty damn impressive. The Illinois tape and the Michigan tape from this past year was like, wow, that just really wowed me. But yeah, I obviously love the pro comps. If he's there at 28, I think you got to consider it for the Bills. I definitely think he has first round talent and should be considerable for a lot of teams.
The problem, the question I ask myself with guys like Chop Robinson is, that first step you're talking about, Jake.
Yeah.
If his first step is so great, why are we talking about him being available to the Bills at 28?
That's true.
If his first step is so great, why aren't we talking about him being drafted with Dallas Turner in the top 10? And that's what I can't reconcile in my head.
It's more potential, I think, than anything. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was a transfer to Penn State. Who was he before at Penn State? Do you know?
Maryland.
Yep.
And did he transfer to Penn State for his last year?
So I believe it was his.
He transferred in 2022, I believe.
Yeah, 2022. Yes, it was 2022.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Trey says McDermott and our new DE coach, defensive coach, Bobby Babich, would drool to develop Chop Robinson. And again, I wouldn't, and again, we're not going to discuss, like we've been over and over. I wouldn't hate this pick at 28 if we stuck at 28. However, I do realize we want to go wide receiver, but I keep saying this: the wide receiver class is so deep. You can get a good wide receiver in the second round, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I just can't wait. We are T minus 11 days, guys. T minus 11 days. Definitely. What's up?
Say the Bills come away from this draft, say they draft Chop Robinson at 28. They stay put, draft Chop Robinson, and they come away with, Xavier Leggett's probably gone. Xavier Worthy's probably gone. They come away with Keon Coleman in the second round. How do you guys feel about your wide receiving core going into the season?
Well, I know Jake's he hasn't been a fan of Keon Coleman since.
Not that I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of him for the Bills. He's not a separator.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Keon Coleman either, and we talked about that, Jake, on the Discord. That's why I said his name, because you go into the season with Keon Coleman and Curtis Samuel is your top two wide receivers. Yeah. How are you really feeling about your receiving core?
Well, I said earlier,
I just want to run 13 personnel then at that point.
Right. I said earlier, because of our two tight ends and Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel, I'm not panicking like a lot of folks are. I mean, I've seen teams like the Chiefs, of course it is the Chiefs, do a lot less or do a lot more with less. This team is Khalil Shakir is up and coming. So we'll see. I mean, a good guy other than Keon Coleman in the second round, which you could get, I'd be extremely happy. There's a bunch of guys. Just go watch our wide receiver show and you'll see all the people that we love.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I threw out Keon Coleman because I know Jake doesn't like him all that much. But there's Johnny Wilson. There's, Xavier Worthy might be available. Xavier Leggett might be available. And I know Jake would love that.
Oh, yeah, I would.
It's just, I really think the Bills are going wide receiver in the first round because I think they're doing a disservice to their franchise quarterback if they go into the season with their top wide receiver being Curtis Samuel, because he will be their top wide receiver if you don't get one of those top 4 guys.
Okay.
In my opinion.
I love that, Keith.
That's
I
fair.
love it.
And Roy,
Preach,
if I had a crystal ball and I could see that Chop was not going to be productive for a year or two, because I want a first-round guy to be productive year 1. So if this was true, if I could see into my crystal ball, he'd be off the board for me in round 1. Now, I am saying the Bills could trade down and get a 2 second-rounders, get a 3rd-rounder in play, and then they have that 2nd-round pick from 2025 that they can toy with and move up the board, whether in the 2nd round. Hell, get 3 2nd-round picks. I don't know, move up big time.
Sure.
And now,
I've seen Chop. You talk about moving.
What's that?
Now you sound like a Dolphins fan. That's what the Dolphins want.
I'm just saying, I don't know anything. It's going to be crazy. I can't wait till draft night. And I keep saying we're going to be on live, by the way, all you know that have been listening to us. We're going to go live right at the start of the draft, and we're going to go right to the very end. We'll rotate people in and out. Somebody will be on at all times talking about the players, upcoming picks, the player that was picked. It's going to be super fun. The most disappointment will be if we do trade down, because we have been on the show for that long, anticipating a great move, and next thing we know, the Bills move into the 2nd round. But it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it, guys. I know, Keith, you're going to join us that night, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Cool. All right, so Chop, I'm down for him. If you're right, Roy, I'd say no, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we need an edge rusher badly enough that we can bring him on and make him impactful.
That. I agree with you about Chop.
What's he saying here? Chop is a big green. Yeah, so Roy's saying that. Bills are reloading. 24 is the red carpet for 25s all in year.
Yep. Still a playoff team this year. I agree. I think it's 11 wins guaranteed. Yeah.
Without a doubt. I don't.
Right now, even right now, like with where we're standing, I think it's 11 wins.
Well, still. I was talking to Joe, he's a Patriots fan. I was talking to him last week, and he thinks, the Bills have lost so many guys, they're not a playoff. It's like, I just don't see how you can say that. The Bills are still very clearly, top 2 in this division, and the Dolphins aren't in the top 2. So it's Bills Jets right now, in my opinion. And anybody who says otherwise,
you're setting us up, Keith. You keep saying the Dolphins. You're not even talking about your Dolphins, but you're setting us up.
Hey, look, the Dolphins have lost. The Dolphins lost 3/4 of their defensive line and 3/5 of their offensive line this offseason. To put the Dolphins in the same breath as the Bills, who have won the division the last 4 or 5 years, and the Jets, who are going to be getting back Aaron Rodgers. I'm not trying to fool myself over here. The Dolphins still have a lot of work to do this offseason.
Put that shield up, and if good things happen, you'll be very surprised. You're just kind of protecting yourself from disappointment. I get it. We've all done that.
My entire life as a Dolphins fan, Mike.
Hey, talking about a team that hasn't won a Super Bowl. You at least have a couple of them. I know you weren't around or weren't old enough to see them, but just
I was
saying.
negative 15 years old.
Oh yeah, and then Roy says, "I hope TD fans big the Dolphin channel out there. Good guy. I like listening to his stuff." And I believe Roy. Correct me if I'm wrong. He just feels like this is the Dolphins year every year. So let me know if he's still singing that song this year.
And I honestly don't understand, as a Dolphins fan, how you can be so optimistic. After everything we've been through, we haven't won a playoff game in 24 years. How can you be so optimistic that the Dolphins are gonna?
Talk to Jake and I. Ask us that same question.
That's right. Yep. That's us every year, Keith. Every freaking year. This is our year.
Right.
Yep.
That's just how it is. But
That's
no,
great, man.
with JA-17 and core players around them, returning Matt Milano, the cornerback, I mean, the safeties are question mark. We're going to talk safeties this upcoming Wednesday on the Wednesday show. But there's concerns. I agree, Keith, but I feel like we got enough pieces in JA-17 to still take this division down.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
All right, listen, guys, we're going to have to rattle these off quickly. We're going to go, we've got 6 to get through in the honorable mentions. So, Jake, I'm going to give you 1 minute on the clock for this guy.
Okay.
Darius Robinson.
Yeah, Chris Jones 2.0. That's what this is. Yes.
Damn.
I'm going to say it.
I'm sold.
I'm going to say it. Really, really good Senior Bowl. Can play anywhere on the defensive line. He's got good size. He's 6'5", 285. I'm a huge fan of this kid. I think he definitely is probably better suited for like a 3-4 edge or 3-4 end, I should say, not edge. Yeah, really, really good in run defense. Good pass rushing abilities, and I think he sold himself as definitely an early second round pick at the Senior Bowl, but first round talent in my opinion.
You had me at Chris Jones.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, Trek Reviewer. Good to see you, man. You're a little late. Where have you been, buddy? You rewatching that wrestling show once again? By the way, thanks for letting me know about Peacock. I was able to watch it.
There you go.
A lot of fun. Good stuff. Roy Collins saying TD is delusional. He's a fun watch for sure. He's a fun watch. You should check him out sometimes if you haven't, Keith. He might be a little delusional, but he's passionate about his team, and he's growing his channel too.
I like passion, delusional, and
all good.
Yeah,
but he's real. He is real. He will talk smack about his team when he sees it. So I don't know.
I probably err on the side of pessimism a little too often when it comes to the Dolphins. But delusional takes, they just make me roll my eyes anymore.
All right, Keith, you are 1 minute on the clock for Chris Braswell.
Yeah, so he played Alabama on the other side of Dallas Turner. So he didn't see a lot of double teams, and he was able to kind of hedge that into some pretty good productivity, especially in his senior year. He let's see, just rattle off some stats for you guys.
13 sacks, I think it was, something like that.
Yeah, he had 8 sacks in his senior year, 10.5 tackles for loss. He had an interception return for a touchdown, a block kick, 3 forced fumbles. He had a really nice senior season. He doesn't possess the same athleticism as Dallas Turner, but I can see him being a solid rotational pass rusher. I see him as a late second or third round pick. That's where I see him going. And, he's going to be a solid pro, I think.
Yeah, I agree. These first, let's see, what are we up to? These first 5-6 guys, they're all first round, second rounders. Pretty good class. But then you start to drop off a little bit after Darius Robinson. And there's one other guy I feel like Jake has him at number 9. We'll talk about him a little bit. I feel like he is a little bit higher than what Jake has listed here, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Jake, let me go back to you now. We talked about Chris Braswell. Now we're going to be talking about Braylon Trice.
Yes. Yeah, I think he'd be a really nice fit in the Buffalo Bills defense. Is a perfect 4-3 defensive end. And what's really impressive with him is his pad level. Like at 6'4", he's able to usually win on that side of it. He gets low. He's able to get underneath guys and does a really good job getting to the point of attack. Does a fantastic job just getting home, and his motor is, again, he's a high effort guy, relentless motor, and does a hell of a job of eluding blocks and wreaking havoc in the backfield. So would love Braylon Trice to be a Buffalo Bill. I'm a big fan of him. I think right at pick 60, let's go grab him.
Yep. See second and third round projections for him.
Yep.
All right, let's go to let me go back to back with you, Jake, on this one.
Okay.
Adisa Isaac.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the counterpart to Chop Robinson. And at times on tape, Adisa Isaac looked like a better defensive end than Chop Robinson. I think he's definitely more polished, but he doesn't have the athleticism that Chop has. But a very solid player. You know what you're getting. He's definitely not as green. But I think, definitely a late second round pick worthy for him. Definitely.
All right, awesome. Yeah, let's get this TD is delusional off, because if TD does come to our show and he sees me keeping that up for too long, oh man, we'll have the whole AFC East roundtable bombarding us. All right, this next guy is a guy. I think, Jake, maybe you have him lower because of his shoulder injury. And I think Jonah Ellis is a guy that is worthy of a first or second round pick. But there are concerns, sort of like there was from Latu with his injury. But this one's a little different. And I don't know. I don't have the information. Did he miss recent time because of the shoulder injury? I think it is recently, right? It's a recent injury that he's coming off of, or is it something that happened season 2? I think with a shoulder injury, it would have to be something that's currently he's recovering from. So there's a little concern there. But this guy, again, my source says shades of TJ Watt. So I'm going to throw that to you, Keith, to talk about Jonah Ellis.
So this guy, he's the son of Luther Ellis, who played in the NFL.
I love that.
So, he's got the NFL bloodlines and everything. I don't see JJ Watt. I don't see TJ Watt. I don't see Derek Watt. I'm actually not a huge fan of Jonah Ellis.
What?
I'm not a huge fan. I don't like his athleticism on the edge, and he doesn't have the size to make up for a lack of athleticism. So I like him less.
Bring up his stats, Jake.
I like him less than
he had 13 sacks. Did have 13 sacks, which I do love that.
Was it last year? Talk to me season by season for this young man. He's a 3-year guy out of Utah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
He was a second team All-American, first team All Pac-12. I get it. Oh man, I don't see the athleticism. And he's not very big. He's only 6'2", 248 pounds. He's got a great motor, but we're talking about a potential first or second round pick, probably second round pick for Jonah Ellis. And I see him more in the 4th round range.
4th round?
Wow.
Holy cow.
I would take him in the 4th round. I wouldn't take him any higher than that.
First or second. You're talking about his weight. He's only 6
I love it,
pounds
Keith.
lighter than Chop. But give us his stats, please. Let's run us through here.
All right.
Hopefully somebody looked them up.
Yeah, 13 sacks this past year. And this is basically with playing with one arm. The previous year he had 4 sacks. A lot of pressures, though. You look at his total pressures. This year, 26 QB hurries, 2 QB hits, 13 sacks, like I said. The previous year, 21 QB hurries, 4 sacks only, though. 25 total pressures. And again, I think he was pretty banged up in 2022, too. So I think you definitely worry about durability. His frame, a little small for the NFL. He's only like 6'2", 248. So would like to see him get a little bit bigger if he's going to be a 4-3 D end.
Yeah.
He does have really good football IQ. Obviously comes from a football family.
Yeah.
I like the upsides a little bit more than the negatives. So I'm willing to, pick 60. I wouldn't mind it for the Bills, but I could see 3rd round probably as the evaluation overall for Jonah Ellis.
Okay.
Great motor too. I mean, I love the kid's mentality. But he only has that 1 year of really great college production, and it was great. Yeah. It was great, and like you said, Jake, was with one shoulder, but I don't know, man. He seems like more of a high effort guy than he's more effort than athletic.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think you're saying 4th round because he'll probably be a guy at the next level. Just a guy, though. It's not going to be like a guy, a dog. He's not going to be
not a 10 sack a year guy. Dude. He's not a 10 sack a year guy. He's a rotational pass rusher.
Jonah Ellis, I'm documenting this right now. I'm sending you an apology letter in advance. If you want to talk about first-year production, we're talking about Xavier Legette, who was a 5-year guy, and it only really showed up in his last year. I do believe the shoulder, again, it's not like a spinal injury.
No.
Yes, I know shoulder injuries can linger as well, but
Well,
and this happened late in the season. That's why he wasn't able to participate in the combine. All your points are fair, and if the shoulder injury wasn't there, he's definitely a first or second rounder. This guy could be a sleeper in the third rounder. I don't think he goes to fourth. I would take a chance on him in the third round. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, I don't know. I'm just not. He doesn't impress me, and
I get you.
He's on the dock. Yeah.
All right, see. Let's see here. Let's catch up a little bit here. Trey Williams, because you got to look at what Trey brings, and you got to look at what Roy brings, because they bring the stats. Trey Williams, arm length seems like Brain Trice's ceiling gets lowered.
Yeah.
He said Ellis played half a season on one arm and he still finished with good metrics. Yes, that's what I'm saying. He fully tore one side and played through it, unfortunately. So so there's concern there with I don't know much about tearing. I don't hear about this injury, tearing through his shoulder, but we'll see. Again, I don't know. And I don't know what the expectation is for him to be ready for football again. I don't know if anyone has heard that, because this happened late in the season. So is he expected to be, and did he have surgery, first of all, to repair this, or is it something that heals on its own? And has anyone heard of what his expected return is? Because that plays a big factor, in my opinion.
I think his injury history doesn't concern me the way Latu's injury does. That's not. I think his shoulder's gonna heal and he'll be all right there. I think. I don't know if he had surgery or not. It doesn't really say, but man.
By the way, his brother is Caden Ellis too, who plays for the Falcons. He's a linebacker, pretty solid player.
And he's got another brother who played
Christian.
Yeah, and then another one who played with the Eagles, Noah.
Oh, Noah did too. Holy smokes, man!
Yeah, bloodline, man.
Bloodline.
That is crazy. That is wild. Damn.
So we'll see. Like I said, I'm writing the letter now. I will send it in advance to apologize to Jonah Ellis. But again, it's going to be fun to see how these guys develop and the type of careers they have. And it's always going to be fun when we come back and we talk about that. Roy's going to be out there. Mike, remember when you were saying this guy was a third or fourth round and he gets taken early second?
Yeah.
You're like, all right. But you know what, Roy? I'm going to hit on a few of them. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so interesting. Again, it comes down to, when is he going to be able to play football, and is it a surgery required, or does it heal on its own? So what's he got? Keith can't risk an injury on the Dolphins hospital.
I most certainly can't.
And Roy, yes, Jake, you're better to answer this question. I mean, he played for Utah. Talk to me about the competition at Utah.
Well, I mean, that's Pac-12 football. So he went up against some pretty good players. Talise Fuaga, I know he went up against him. Trying to think of some other guys. I mean, there's some dogs in the Pac-12 now. Don't sleep on those offensive linemen over there. So competition, I felt like, was pretty good. So 13 sacks, nothing to sleep on, and the fact he did it with one arm, very, very impressive.
Very impressive, for sure. All right, Jake, Marshawn Kneeland, we got him and an honorable mention. Let's be quick about it. It's going to be tough to stay under the 2 hour. Let's go.
Yeah, I love Marshawn Kneeland a little because I'm biased. He's a Max school player, Western Michigan. That's where I feel like his notoriety isn't as high as these other guys. So you talk about the competition he plays against, not quite as good as what a Jonah Ellis would be playing against. So nice little segue there. I think he is a traditional 4-3 base defensive end, but he is so damn athletic, super agile. He super consistent with pocket push presence, really good bull rush. I'm a big fan. I think he's not just a project. I think he's pro ready, and he's going to show people like Khalil Mack did that he can play at the next level and play at a high level, in my opinion.
Nice. Keith, you have any thoughts?
Marshawn Kneeland, he's going to be a rotational player. I see him as a fourth or fifth round pick. His production in college, you'd like to see more. Yeah, you'd like to see more sacks. You'd like to see more tackles for loss, more tackles in general. But the the athletic traits are undeniably there. So, I got a 4th-round grade on him, and I think, he has the potential to surpass that.
All right, I have him as a 3rd-round grade, and I'm only saying this because so I can watch this back after the draft, and I'm gonna put a spreadsheet together, and we're gonna say when we thought these guys would be taken and when they actually were, and I'll do it for this show, and I'll do it for the receiver class that we went through. It's gonna be fun to see where they were actually taken based on what we were saying. So, Jake, your last guy, your honorable mention is Muhammad Kamara. You want to talk about him a little bit?
Well, we started the show right prior to this. We were talking to our guy Tony, who I said was Elvis Dumervil Jr. And this is a great example of maybe the next Elvis Dumervil, Muhammad Kamara, who I think grades out as like a 4th to 5th round pick. Little undersized. He's 6'1", 248, but the production is there. He had 16 sacks this past year with Colorado State. I know he was Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year. He, I think, is getting a lower grade, obviously, because of that size, but super violent hands, plays with extreme aggression, and it's not over aggressiveness where he's getting stupid penalties, but I think you combine that with his high motor and his production all together, he grades out to be a really solid NFL prospect and really does remind me a lot of Elvis Dumervil. You look at his height and weight coming out of college, 5'11", 250, I think he was. So he's actually a little bit taller even. He's 6'1", 248. So Muhammad Kamara, remember the name.
23 in the bench press.
That's pretty damn good,
23
too.
reps.
Yeah.
4.57,
40. Yeah.
Yep. 1.58 split. 34-inch broad. What? No, that can't be right. That
34.5-inch vert.
Yeah. So, they have it reversed here. Sorry, 10-foot broad jump and 34.5-inch. So the data guy here, my source, had his data off.
Trey's going to call us out again.
All right, Keith. Any thoughts on Muhammad, and then we'll call it a night, guys.
I like Jake's evaluation of Kamara. Elvis Dumervil is a
He's a 4th-round pick too, Elvis Dumervil. So I mean, they're grading out the same way.
Yeah,
might be the second coming.
But if you're going to knock Jonah Ellis for the competition he played against, then you should really knock Kamara for the competition he played against. Mountain West. We're not talking about the best of the best here.
Yeah.
So 16 sacks in the Mountain West. What does that equal? 10 sacks in the SEC, 8 sacks in the SEC.
You know what, though? We know a thing or two about the Mountain West. Our quarterback went to Wyoming, so don't sleep on the Mountain West, Keith, all right? We do pretty well with drafting Mountain West players now.
Yeah, understood. No, he's a great – I see him as a project, and he's a really athletic project to take on. So, 4th or 5th round pick, I could see it.
Hell yeah.
All right. So listen, guys, I'm going to ask you a fun question to end this. I'm going to ask Keith first. And I don't know the Dolphins picks. Do they have a 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, Keith?
They have a 1st and a 2nd. They don't have a 3rd.
Okay, they're like us then.
They lost the 3rd. They actually had 2 3rds. They lost one for trading for Bradley Chubb, and they lost the other one because they were tampering with Tom Brady.
Who they may call if Tua gets hurt towards the end of the season and come back to save their team.
Bring you full circle.
But talk to me. First 3 picks by the Dolphins. Tell me what position group they're taking.
I want them to go interior offensive line with their first pick. I've been pretty consistent with that. Jackson Powers-Johnson or Graham Barton. Their 2nd round pick, I'd like to see a Chris Jenkins or Riku Orohoro. And their next pick after their 2nd round pick would be their 5th round pick.
Wow.
And I wouldn't mind seeing them take a tight end like Dallin Holker in the 5th round.
Do you see them dream big, Keith. Dream big. Maybe they make some moves. Like, are we delusional thinking the Bills are going to move into the 3rd somehow, some way? Maybe you can move up.
See, I think there's a better chance of the Dolphins moving back in the 1st round and picking up a 3rd round pick than the Bills moving back and picking up the 3rd round pick. I think the Bills are prime candidates to move up. I think they're moving up for a receiver.
You guys are 21, right?
Yeah, the Dolphins are picking at 21. I wouldn't be upset at all if on draft night we see the Dolphins trade out of the first round and pick up a third or a fourth round pick. Maybe
Nice.
both. I've said this before. I'll say it again. This draft class is so loaded. I want the Dolphins to get as many whacks at this pinata as humanly possible.
Love it. Yeah.
All right, here. And then Jake, same question to you. Oh,
Christian
by the way,
Haynes.
wait, I think Jake asked you, Keith.
Christian Haynes.
We're moving up, you said. Who are we taking? Which receiver are we taking?
I think it's going to be Brian Thomas Jr.
Brian Thomas, yeah.
Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah.
That was for Keith, but yeah, he's right there.
But yeah, Jake and I are in agreement there. Brian Thomas.
Yeah.
I don't think he can move up high enough to take Roma Dunze. That just seems like a pipe dream. But Brian Thomas is certainly in the cards for the Bills.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I saw Roy said we're going to trade up to get Marvin Harrison. I don't know what we're going to give up for that, but we're going generational talent. Let's go.
You're going to have to pull a dick and just give up your entire draft.
Can we make it happen, Roy? Can we make it happen? Jake, your question. Your first 3 picks for the Bills. Tell me the position groups you're going. I know you can give me the whole play-by-play. It's fine. We're past the 2 hours. What the heck?
Right. Receiver. Trading up to get Brian Thomas Jr. Then we're going edge. We're going to take let's see. For edge, we're going to go take my guy Braylon Trice right at pick 60 there. And then for the first 4th round pick, we're going to go take a safety. I don't know who. Maybe Cole Bishop slides a little bit, Mike. I highly doubt it, but wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, so that's a good segue because, like I said, we're going to be talking about safeties Wednesday night. So Wednesday's going to be a short show. Promise you. We're just talking safeties. And then Jake and I, he doesn't know this, but we're going to get a nice little vacation. We are going to take Sunday off. We're going to take our Wednesday off the following after this Wednesday. And we're going to get ready. We got to prep, get in shape, and get ready for that live. I think, what is it, 4 hours? Night one? Is it 4 hours?
Oh yeah, it's going to be probably
or longer than that.
4.5, 5 hours.
Be a marathon.
All right. We got to get ready for that. So join us this Wednesday. We'll give you our take on safety, which is another concern for me. I know we picked up a guy and we got Taylor Rapp going to be starting, but I have concerns at that safety position. Any updates on Micah Hyde? Has he made a decision? Are we bringing him back? Is he playing football?
Haven't heard a thing. Not a lick of anything about Micah Hyde. So I have a feeling he's going to retire.
Roy says if we trade up for BTJ, we may not have 4th round picks. I'm okay with that.
No, so Roy, I think what'll happen is we're going to take this year's first 28th and then one of next year's 2nd round picks and then just trade up. So it's not like we're losing any picks this year. So we'll just move up to pick 17 or whatever it may be, take Brian Thomas Jr., and then we'll be fine. Just ride it out the way it is.
Are the Bills going forward with the understanding that they're not going to have Micah Hyde? Like, is that or
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I was just hoping more like Keith, if he did come back, I'd want him more for a leadership role. Not necessarily an every down player. Definitely play for a little bit, but more for the leadership. But we'll see. Who knows? He could retire and still play that role. They can bring him in. He's just a great guy to have, and would love to have him teaching those young guys. Oh, what do we got?
I don't love this Trey. I don't love Quentin Johnston. How about AJ Green? Like Keith said many moons ago, we were talking on our show, and he's like, who I comp him to is AJ Green, and I love that comparison. People forget, man, recency bias may have taken over with all the injuries he had towards the end of his career, but dude, his first 6 years in the NFL, insane.
Yep. And then
so good.
Constantly looking his direction. He had double teams all the time. I like Brian Thomas a lot. I don't want to see him go to the Bills, but I think it almost feels inevitable, and I hate to say that.
When you got Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors both saying they think the Bills are going to get Brian Thomas Jr., got to have some merit behind that, right? I mean, I think it could happen. It could happen.
Yeah. It really could. And we'll find out in T-minus 11 days if we're going to be able to get Brian Thomas. So excited about that night coming up. And I know, look at Keith. His wife saying, dude, you told me it wasn't going to be 2 hours. I know he gets a lot of heat. Jake, probably getting a little heat too, but we love it. That's why we do it.
Yeah. You know what? It's great. Listen, stay tuned for Tuesday night as well, 8 p.m. You'll see Keith and I.
Yep.
We're going to be doing a fun mock draft, little different concept where we control the other one of the other teams in the AFC. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun too because you just covered some of the. Well, we've covered centers, we've covered wide receivers, we've covered defensive tackles, we've covered edge and defensive ends. So that could help you guys out on your draft. I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to you guys getting back to work. Like I said, you took an unexpected leave of absence. Totally inexcusable for the fans out here who are wondering where the heck this,
We're sorry, guys.
I think our wives were pretty happy with it, though.
The wives are happy. And when I tell my wife that we're going to have Sunday and Wednesday off after this Wednesday show, she's going to be extremely excited. But she's going to put me to work, unfortunately. I know I'm going to get some extra honeydew stuff to all right, guys, we're gonna get out of here. It's been fun. Appreciate everyone in the channel. If you're new, please like, comment, and drop a nickel on the subscribe button. Also, get into the Discord. It's super fun. Boy, what are you waiting for? If you need some assistance, can help you out, buddy. I know you can get into the Discord. Big Al did it. If Big Al can get into the Discord and chat it up with us, you can too, Roy. Come on now.
Yeah.
And Chad's not made it either. I don't know what's going on with Chad. What is going on?
Chad might be coming on our draft show, though, Mike. We got to have him on.
No, I want Chad. I want Weston. I want Keith. I want everyone that has been in our channel, worked with us, or just behind the scenes. It's going to be a lot of fun. But Chad, what's going on? Weston's in there. He's bought into the Discord.
Weston gives us some great Chiefs information.
He sure does. He sure does. And we have a KC channel, Chad. I don't know what more I can do to tempt you to come in there. Come on now, buddy. All right, guys. Have a good one.
Hey, take care.
Go Bills.